Well, who is excited about saying goodbye to 2020 and hello to 2021? Absolutely everyone, that's who. Let's take a look at what we learned in this insert adjective here year that can carry us forward into the next one. Welcome to Allie on Life, where we are this close to finally being done with 2020. Let's talk about where we have been and where we are hopefully going. But first, you know what I'm going to say. Please subscribe. I would love it if I could get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And if everyone watching this video will share it with someone else who will also subscribe, I think we could probably get there, and that would be so fantastic. Wow. 2020 in review. Do we really want to go there? I'm not sure I do. There's a lot there. So here's what I'll do. I will tell you a few lessons that I've learned and a couple shifts that I've made and how I am looking forward, and I hope that you will do the same. The first shift that I made in 2020 was going from working for someone else to working for myself. And that was a pretty big shift. I was working part-time. It wasn't a full-time income or full-time hours, but I still had that nice little cushion that I could rely on. And it's a little bit different when I have to create my own cushion that may or may not be there. That has taken some mindset shift, and it's taken some productivity shift as well. And I am still working toward that goal of replacing the income that I left earlier in this year. There have been some months when I've hit it, and then some months when I haven't. I also made the shift from writer to coach. Now, to say that I'm not a writer anymore is ridiculous. Of course I'm still a writer. I'll always be a writer. I've always been a writer. But as far as making a living goes, I made the decision actually pretty recently to shift from focusing on being a writer to focusing on more being a coach for writers. And there's lots of reasons why I went into that. Freelance writing is fun and it's decent money and you can do it and do it well, but it doesn't really bring me a lot of joy, and coaching does. I just love seeing people improve their writing and make those connections that help them get to, going from wanting to write to actually writing and all of that. And so that's where I'm putting my focus from now on. I'm still there and available if people need a freelance writer or an editor or any of the other things that I do. But as far as promoting what I do, I'm leaning into the coaching aspect of things on that. Of course, those are the personal shifts that I've made. The whole world really has shifted. And so trying to get our bearings in the midst of all that, I don't have to go into details on all of that. You're alive right now and watching this, so you know how the world has shifted, and it's been a little bit crazy. And so making those changes and adjustments in my personal life to react to what's going on in the world has been a challenge as well. And definitely a major shift in the way that I view things and look at things and react to things in life. Now for the lessons. These are mostly things that I already knew, but that I really learned in practical reality this year. The first one is that nothing is certain. That can mean any number of things, from the information that we get from a variety of sources to whether or not we or people that we love will be around from one day to the next, or being certain that plans that we make are even possible, whether that's social plans or plans for productivity, plans for what we're going to do for a living. There's just so much change and upheaval and uncertainty that has happened this year that it has really brought home the lesson that nothing is certain. And so you can't really do anything except live in the moment. And that's okay. I mean, you can plan for the future, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But just to say, I am here and present and alive right now. And that is what I know. I don't know anything about what is to come. And as we've learned that, I've learned to take some time that I wouldn't have necessarily taken before, to be more present than I am in the moment sometimes. For example, instead of saying, oh, I'll get to that later, if it's important, do it now, because I don't know if I'm going to have later or not. And it also helps to see what things really are important and what things really do need to happen and where you really do need to be present. Because if all you have is right now, what are you going to do with this moment? Another lesson I've learned is that sometimes I don't need to have all of the answers. Maybe I just need better questions. This has been a year where pretty much all of everything that I knew about the world has been questioned. whether it's, worldview or processes of how I do things or the way that I spend my time with people, relationships, all of that. Because everything is uncertain, I don't know everything. And I definitely have been one of those kinds of people who likes to think that I know everything and likes to inform others around me of that fact. And the fact is, it's just not true. I don't know everything, and maybe some of the things that I thought I knew were actually wrong. Being able to take that approach and saying, am I looking at this wrong? Do I need to ask some more questions instead of just spouting whatever I think I know about something? Those are all things that I've learned to do this year with a little bit more humility and introspection, and just the ability to try to get along with people a little bit better. Another lesson I've learned is that planning is essential, which sounds a little strange considering that I don't know all the answers and nothing is certain. Why would you even have a plan, right? I mean, in 2020, we all threw all of our planners away because they meant nothing, right? But that's not entirely true, at least for me. What I have found is that even when everything is uncertain and I have no idea what's going to happen from one day to the next, if I at least have a plan for what I hope to be able to do, and what I know I need to do, and what really is important, then when everything gets crazy, but then it kind of slows down for a minute and I can stop and say, oh, what do I need to do next? Oh, I have a plan. That is essential. And maybe planning is a little bit more flexible than it used to be. And we'll talk about that in a minute too. But it is still really, really important. And for someone like me who is fairly disorganized, it really is something that I have to do, or else I would never get anything done. I have to have a list of things. I've got to have them all planned out. I've got to have action steps and all of those things, so that when life gets overwhelming, I can at least stop for a moment and say, okay, what is it that I need? What is it that I need to do? What questions do I need to have answered? What do I need to learn and move on and all of that? And having a plan is really important for all of those things. Now, coming right out of that, you got to have a plan, but also flexibility is necessary, because sometimes the plan doesn't work. Sometimes life just happens. Sometimes we panic and have to reevaluate and do all of those things. And sometimes you have to do that pretty quickly in a matter of moments. So be flexible, because otherwise, if you're too rigid, rigid has kind of gone out in 2020. We don't really do that anymore. We can have passions and convictions and things that we know are right and wrong, and that is fine. But when it comes to just day-to-day letting life happen or making decisions about how life is going to happen, flexibility is necessary. Next lesson is letting go is key. And I apologize if you now have a certain song stuck in your head. It happens. It's just part of life now. But it's so important to just let go of things that can hold us back, especially things like expectations. I've really learned to let go of expectations in 2020. And I still have them to some extent. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I have become convinced that expectations are often the enemy. Whether that means my own expectations of myself, my expectations of others, or their expectations of me. Whenever we come into a situation with high expectations or low expectations, really any expectations at all, how many times can I say expectations in this video? When we have them, we create a situation in our minds that may not reflect reality. And then we create disappointment in something that might have never even existed. And that's a lot of unnecessary stress and anxiety that we just don't need. So if we can let go of expectations, let go of the way that we think things should be, and instead live in the moment and accept people where they are, push them or help them toward something better, sure, but don't take any expectations with you in that process and in that journey. I think we will find a lot more peace. Also, letting go of other things, whether it's stuff that was really important to us at the beginning of the year that we have since then realized maybe wasn't that important, or ideas or beliefs that maybe were wrong. Maybe different ways that we looked at the world that need to be adjusted. We can take some time here now at the end of the year and let a lot of that go and just roll our shoulders back and feel some freedom, because we are leaving that in 2020 and not taking it with us into 2021. Another lesson I've learned is that feelings are okay. This is a difficult one for me because I usually think that feelings are not okay. I think they're icky and sticky and messy and gross, and so I try to avoid having them in any way at any time. It's a little weird, but it's my kind of weird. That's just who I am. However, 2020 has been a year of big feelings. And even someone like me who tries not to feel those things, oh, I have felt them. And I've realized in the process that, I feel them, but other people feel them too. Maybe I feel them differently than other people, but they're still there. It's okay to feel the feelings. I have struggled hard this year. I have been depressed and I have been anxious. I have lost a lot of peace and freedom and people in my life that were really important. Whether I lost them because, they're gone, or I lost them because our relationship changed because of different things during the year, or because they moved away. All of those things have happened, and I have felt many things about them. I have had big feelings about what is going on in the world, and the uncertainty and the fear and the anger and the stupidity. There's a lot of that. All of those things make me feel things. I have had feelings about what's coming next. I don't know what's coming next. I've had feelings about, what has happened, and there's a lot there, and it's okay. Whatever feelings that you feel are okay. And sometimes I think we want to tell each other, oh, it's fine. You're fine. Everything's fine. Don't feel that way. Cheer up. Smile. Everything's going to be okay. Maybe it is. I hope so. Maybe it's not. But if you feel bad about something, it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to take some time and feel that. And to share it with people that you trust. And hopefully the people that you trust are able to take those feelings and deal with them with you in a way that is healthy and helpful. And if you're in a place where there's just too much and you can't deal with it anymore, get some help. And that's okay too, because sometimes we're not enough. Sometimes we're not. This year, a lot of times I have not been enough, anything close to that. And I've been able to learn that, you can feel the darkness and you can feel some of the hopelessness. It doesn't mean that the darkness is permanent, and it doesn't mean that there is no hope. Sometimes it feels that way. And it's okay to feel that way. Find some help, find some supportive friends and people that can gather around you and help you get through it. And hopefully we can look to a brighter future. And you know what? If you're feeling great about things, that is fine too. The Bible says there's a time for everything, right? There's a time for weeping, and I have felt a lot of that lately, like today. And there's a time for crying, there's a time for war and a time for peace, and there's a time for happiness and all of those things that I'm getting wrong in quoting that very familiar piece of scripture. But the fact is, the reality is, there is a time for all of those things, and we all go through them at different times. We've all experienced a lot of the same things in 2020, but we haven't necessarily experienced them all the same way. It's looked different for each of us, and we felt it differently. And so it's okay if you're feeling things differently than the people around you. You can accept that about yourself, and hopefully they'll accept it about you. Well, I'm sure there's plenty more things that I have learned in 2020. I could probably go on for a long time about it, but no one wants to watch that video. My question is, can you relate to any of the lessons that I learned in 2020? And do you have any of your own that you want to share? Please let me know in the comments. Let's have that conversation. If there's anything that you need to rant about from 2020, just share that. Let's get it out there and say goodbye to this year. Also, if there's anything that you're thankful for from 2020, share that too, because there are reasons to say a grateful goodbye to 2020. If you're wondering if I'm still offering those free coaching calls, I am. I am taking a week off around Christmas, but I still have some slots available. If you are working on a project or if you have a book that you want to write in 2021 and you just want to talk that out with somebody, you can do that, and then I'll share some action steps that you can use to move forward into that goal. There is a link to that scheduler in the description for this video, and I am really looking forward to talking to you. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're watching this before Christmas, I hope that it is merry and blessed. I hope that your 2020 was better than mine, and that we can all have something to look forward to next year.